Ladies and gentlemen, the Ghost Rider and Sin update is here, and I wanted to go over it with you guys and give you my first impressions on these characters with their new uniforms, because this is seasonal content, so you want to get as much information out there as fast as possible because people have decisions to make. Once these uniforms are gone, they do not appear again until next year, October 2024. So you have a hard decision to make, absolutely, 100%. Ghost Riders is a full cost uniform, so it almost costs as much as 2 uniforms when they're discounted at 50%. And then for Sins, of course, it costs $20 to $30 US, depending on your currency conversion and depending on how much patience you have, whether you want to wait for the check-in event or not. That hasn't even started yet. So let's cover the basics here first. First off, Ghost Rider, massive improvement. The optionals for this uniform are as follows: Spider-Man No Way Home Red, which is not bad. Wasp from Quantumania, which is very good. It's from this year. Venom, King in Black, also good. Valkyrie, Love and Thunder, also good. And then, unfortunately, Deadpool 30th Anniversary. However, this is black Deadpool 30th Anniversary, not white. So it is not the more expensive one, because one of them you just buy and have. The other one you need to have all of the Dawn of X uniforms, like Cable, Rogue, Nightcrawler, etc., to unlock. So this is not the white one, which you could call like semi-paywall or whatever. It is the black one. So yeah, pretty decent uniform optionals for Ghost Rider. On Sin's side, also a really good upgrade, like a big upgrade for her, both as a support and as a standalone DPS. Like, this is her first uniform in 7 years. This is a massive upgrade for her. She gets Captain America Enter the Phoenix, which is Absorbing Man, which is Spider-Man Back to Basics, which is amazing. Colossus Phoenix 5, which a lot of people have, but it is old. And then Quicksilver Uncanny. So kind of worse optionals for Sin compared to Ghost Rider, but certainly better than we've seen lately. Now, as far as these builds go for these characters, I think they're actually both proc friendly, and I'll show you a little preview of what I think their procs look like. For Ghost Rider, it's pretty straightforward. I can't believe I'm saying Ghost Rider is proc friendly, but hey, he also has a heal. It's 2023, baby. You basically just wait for him to move up on his 3rd skill. When he moves up, you cancel into 5, and then you immediately cancel into 4. Now, he has really cool animations. I don't want to spend the whole video gushing over them, but I just want to show you the chainsaw on the 4th skill. He rips it once, he rips it twice, he rips it 3 times, then he chucks it, and then he just spews at you. It's absolutely amazing. Also, if you haven't noticed, this combo here with 354 does well over 140 hits. You heard that right, 140 hits per enemy, which is crazy. So very easy rotation to do, just 3, delay, 5 into 4. You can actually hit the 3. You can cancel the 3 when you see the chain going up. You don't even need to see Ghost Rider move. But that is basically it. What you're also not seeing because of the camera angle is his 5th skill, where he summons a giant skull. Look at this. A giant skull to spew down fire. It looks amazing. The only downside or negative to Ghost Rider with this uniform is he's really slow. Okay, yes. Storm Volume 2. He's very slow. And then, although he's proc friendly, you cannot really incorporate his tier 3. You can't incorporate his tier 3 because his 5th skill has a very long cooldown. So you'll actually have to wait for his 5th skill to be almost off cooldown before you start the rotation. Otherwise, you'll proc too early. And if you try to delay cancel the 6, it will trigger your next proc, because the 6 has hits at the beginning and you have to wait a little bit for the chains to pop up. And as you can see, it's already going, hitting 20, 30, 40, 50 times. It just doesn't work. Everything I tried just did not work. So if you want to make Ghost Rider proc friendly, and you absolutely can, you're just going to have to instantly cancel the 6th skill. The reason why you still want to instantly cancel the 6th skill is you still want to get the buffs, the invincibility, the damage proc, the ignore dodge, the penetration, etc., etc. But yeah, I've been working him with an ignore dodge, fire damage, 180 proc. Like, this is a very good obelisk, but it's been very good. Like, he can do, he went up to stage 69, I think, of null, and he can do pretty high stages of other bosses and other content, and that's all level 70. He soloed GBR for me with no other teammates, right? But so he did 1 billion damage in 3 minutes with an obelisk at level 70. So put that into perspective there. Very, very strong. On the side of Sin here, we'll go over like best options for builds for them later on, but I just wanted to cover this at the beginning. For Sin, obviously people are just going to use her as a support. She has a very strong support passive with hunting skill, very, very strong. And then she also has the leadership for 24% increased basic attack. She also has the artifact. I will say her artifact is kind of depressing. If you don't pull a very high level version of it, it's just a very low percentage. So you can see it's only 15% to heroes and villains at 6 stars. And that additional instinct is her instinct, not the character she's buffing. So it's just a very, very low number. And if you happen to have a lower version, like a 4-star version, which, for example, you would get from an artifact selector, that's only 9%. 9% increased damage to heroes and villains. It's just, it almost like, I don't know, can you even notice it? Like, that's as good as a striker. It's really not that good. But yeah, still a very good support, don't get me wrong. Very, very strong support. She becomes the de facto second best support for a team that you use for ABX, which is Ghost Rider with Black Cat lead and Mystique. You're basically replacing Mystique now with Sin. So for the time being, Sin replaces Mystique. I don't know how long that's going to last. Obviously, whenever Black Cat gets a tier 3 or if another speed villain gets a buff, they could take Sin's place. I feel like Sin might be a bit too niche, but she does also get a huge buff to her damage. So obviously, there's better options for... I mean, there are not that many better options for speed villain. She may actually end up being better than not Ghost Rider, sorry, Green Goblin, Red Goblin for ABX, but she is very proc friendly for content in general. Her 5 is a delay cancel, and then 3 is an instant cancel, and then you go into 4. And you get a lot of hits. Look at that. You get like 70 hits on one target. It's not bad at all. And then her tier 3 is instantly cancelable, so you can instant cancel 6 and 3, slight delay on 5, and then you go into 4 and you swang and bang. You can also, if you're feeling really frisky, you can also try to work in the second skill, because once she throws those grenades, they do still explode. So you can actually combo even harder with her. That might be a little bit too hard to combo, but I really like the 5, 3, 4, and the lasers on the third skill, the sight looks really, really cool. You can see it here by itself. It just looks awesome. It looks awesome. She does struggle a little bit versus Mephisto because she has a lot of hits. She has damage basically from the beginning to the end of her proc. But again, very proc friendly. I feel like she can almost do stage 79 of Mephisto with an energy. I did die or run out of time or make some mistakes versus Mephisto. I can't remember. I think I died. But I did try it. So it's basically triple support because it's her plus Mystique plus Taskmaster. But I was able, damage-wise, to get it done. Now, are there better options for Weapon Master? Yeah, there's Gamora right there. There's Gamora right there, and she gets access to double support. There's Cable. You know, there's tons of options, right? But it's really impressive that she's even in the conversation, considering that she is a support, right? It's very interesting that she's even in the conversation. So for Sin fans, I think you should be pleasantly surprised. Really happy with that. Outside of actually building her as a standalone damage, which I don't recommend, but people will test in a few days when it's the time for speed villains, and they'll slap a rage on her, etc. If it doesn't end up being useful for ABX, you could always go with a proc, or I think most people are just going to slap an insight on her and use her as a support, which does make sense. As far as Ghost Rider goes, because he gets so much fire damage from his passives and from buffs, and to just give you an idea of how much fire damage that is, if you look at this team here, which is the team you're going to be using for the majority of content that you use Ghost Rider in. And keep in mind, for this team up, you don't need Robbie Reyes's newest uniform. It does help, I believe. Yes, it does help. It gives 60% flame resistance and 30% fire damage. So it does help. But what's also important about his Robbie Reyes is that on the build is the artifact. But the uniform is also effective. But okay, so you have this here. Ghost Rider is rocking a whopping 175% fire damage. That's insane. That's very, very close to what we call diminishing returns. When you go over 200, 250%, you just stop seeing the value because you're just buffing something too much, right? There's a plateauing effect. So because of that, and because if you have this full team up and you're able to take advantage of this, if you're not going to go with a proc, which I'm not saying it's the best option, but I'm saying if you don't want to proc with him, then Rage is much better option than Judgment. Unfortunately, that's just the issue here because he has access to so much fire damage. Now, that does change if you don't have Ghost Panther, let's say, and you don't have Robbie Reyes. If you don't have either one of those characters, then Judgment is going to go a lot further for you. Just keep in mind that Rage is still better for things like GBR, ABX, and ABL. And for sure, Ghost Rider is good for GBR. And then for sure, since the testing has already been done, he is good for ABX and ABL. People were able to get, big time whales, we're able to get 10, 11, 12, 13, sometimes even 14 million points today with Ghost Rider. Now, that is like a Brilliant Rage optimal setup, but as I just showed you, Ghost Rider gets access to a lot of buffs that other Universal characters just don't get. Like, they just don't get this much synergy. Ghost Rider has an insane amount of synergy. Ghost Panther's leadership, Ghost Panther's support, Robbie Reyes's passive Hellfire Charge, and Robbie Reyes's artifact. All of those things are working in tandem with a brand new character that just got a uniform released. So yeah, he's very, very dominant. I think it's no question that he's going to be meta in my mind. Whether you want to tier 4 him or just keep him at 80, that's up to you for sure. But I think he will perform very well in both scenarios. I think he's a little bit he's not weak at 70, but I think some people may be disappointed with him at 70 because of how strong and how meta he is at 80 and tier 4. But I still think he's very, very strong and a welcome addition to your roster. So sort of like the situation we had last year with Black Bolt, where he's just like so good. It's like a must-have. I know it's a full cost uniform. It's tough to justify the cost there, but I do think it is there for Ghost Rider. And I haven't even touched on his PvP abilities, because if you get the artifact, right? If you get the unique artifact for Ghost Rider, he gets immortality. And then you couple that immortality with the 4th skill, iframe ignore chainsaw attack, and you're shredding villains. You're shredding them. And he's got big AoE, so that's going to be useful not only in Timeline, but also in Conquest and Otherworld Battle. I think he will be, in the end of it, a very strong hybrid character, and probably will end up having more overall value than the next best seasonal uniform, Black Bolt, because of the PvP presence, right? You got to remember, even if everything that I'm saying for PvE is worse about Ghost Rider than Black Bolt, like even if, I don't know, right? But even if, hypothetically, Ghost Rider is still just a little bit under Black Bolt for PvE, he immediately jumps way ahead of Black Bolt because he has all of that PvP value with the artifact possibility, with the iframe ignore, right? With the invincibility, with that crazy proc against the villains where you can just basically one-shot them. You can go back and look. Back in 2020, Commander was actually posting a little bit of content about Ghost Rider being able to one-shot with his King's Gaze 3rd skill. Now, it's a 30-second cooldown. It's obviously doesn't really work, and didn't really work then, doesn't really work now. But the fact that he was able to one-shot back then with that, he'll easily be able to one-shot now with this new one, given that it has more hits and it's available much more frequently because it's only on a 17-second cooldown. So he's popping this thing every 8.5 seconds, which is crazy. So yeah, I think it's a really good update. Unfortunately, there's not much else to talk about besides Sin and Ghost Rider. There is an archive event that will be coming shortly where you collect Thanos' armor pieces, helmet, weapon, and chest piece, and then you get some rewards for that. You get some temporary instinct buffs, you get a 3-star random artifact, and you get a Odin's Blessing chest, and then you get a random premium card. The random premium card is amazing. It's fantastic, but this will be live as of tomorrow, so I'll just make a separate video on that, showing you that when it's actually in-game. So yeah, in the meantime, keep it locked on the channel. Get your Ghost Riders out, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care.